So this is chapter 13, and the title is When Helping You is Killing Me. How to Have Healthy Relationships with Unhealthy People. And I have to tell you, this one you will be, if you're like me, you will be able to relate it to people you know, or situations you've been in with people where you say, yeah, that was unhealthy. Um, it speaks a lot to some of the questions that we had early on about how do we deal with these unhealthy relationships and how do we know they're unhealthy. So I'm going to give you two examples. The first one is a mother who has an adult son living with her. She allows him to move back in with her rent-free. He doesn't have a job. He's doing drugs. She's finding that he steals her money. Everything, he's just like draining her financially. She'll go to try and do something productive and find her money missing. She wants to take a vacation. She can't because she's afraid to leave the house alone, him in the house alone, because she doesn't trust him and his friends. And her reasoning was that why she allowed it to continue was that both of them, both she and her son, had a really hard time when her husband was sick. And both of them had felt a great loss when he passed away. So her empathizing with her son was her reasoning for holding on to this type of relationship. The second example is a CEO who has a successful business. He's ready to live off of all the work that he's done, and just basically pass the day-to-day running on to someone else, possibly sell the business. But he has allowed a college friend to have the role of the CFO of his business. And more he feels like that his college friend may not have taken good care of the books, that he feels like the books might not, like if there's an audit to sell, the numbers wouldn't come out right, and it would of course lay at the lap of his friend. His friend is an alcoholic and he's trying to be supportive. So his reasoning for keeping this relationship is wanting to protect a friend and the friend's family because of a past relationship where they were very close in college. Now, with both of those examples, you have people who are covering for people who are close to them and helping them. But it literally is, and I say killing them, I mean not physically, but emotionally, it is killing them. It is draining everything they have, and basically creating an emotional death. It's eliminating joy out of their life. It's draining their energy level. It's stealing their time from anything they want to do. They can't. It is truly distracting them from God's purpose. It's taking their dreams and their hopes, and it's just crushing them, and it's robbing them not only of that regular energy but that vitality and zest for life. It's basically, the author calls it suffocating the heart. It is so disruptive. So look, we've all heard of or have known of people who have that, have had similar situations where there's someone in their life, whoever it is, who is just draining that relationship to a point where it can't go on. But if you're trying to help them, they can't see it because all they know is, but I've had this relationship with them in the past, or we've gone through a horrible time together. So they're holding on to a situation that is negative. Um, it's kind of like if I share a pain or I share a past with you, I have to hold on to you. Um, Tonight we're going to talk a lot about Abraham and Lot. And we generally think, like I thought, oh yeah, I know Abraham and Lot. Who doesn't know about Abraham and Lot? But the author takes a little different look at Abraham and Lot. And it really made me think differently about their relationship because I hadn't thought about it in these terms before. Um, their relationship, it happened during the Old Testament, but a lot of what we're going to look at is common even in today's relationships, even like the ones that we talked about. Just because they share an experience or an ability or a desire, it doesn't mean that people need to get into a relationship with each other. Just because you're related doesn't mean you need to have that really close relationship. People think that anything like a common history or like I said, a shared experience or things that they desire to have happen should immediately lead them into a relationship, but that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes the common history or that common experience can be detrimental to the relationship. Okay, so if you look at Abraham and Lot, they shared the family history, and they shared loss. They shared the loss of Lot's father. So Abraham lost his brother and Lot lost his father. So there was the shared family, the shared loss. And basically, if you read about the whole situation, grief was really the foundation of their relationship, and it made their relationship kind of faulty. So when Lot's father dies, and it's about the same, and right after that, Abraham hears God's call to move, and he says, okay. And God's call to him was, Abraham, take your wife and move. He didn't say, Abraham, take your wife and Lot and move. But Abraham felt badly that, Lot would be left with nothing. So he took his nephew with him. Even though God didn't tell him to, he took Lot because he felt bad. They shared a past, they shared a loss, their family, you take them along. So the question I have here, and it can be, if somebody wants to answer, it's fine. It can be just a hypothetical. Have you ever allowed a lot to become part of your life due to a shared hurtful experience? Have you ever allowed a person who you shared a hurtful experience become a significant part of your life? If you have, it might have been a very healthy relationship and created a healthy bond. But if it became unhealthy, it would be extremely toxic. Okay? Does anybody have anything to say about that? Anytime you have something to say about tonight, please speak up, because it's, I feel like it's going to elicit some thoughts. So, well, yeah.
Yeah, I shared my life with several people. I opened my house to them, my home to them. I was financially responsible for them. But it got to the point that I didn't have a life. They became my life. And the relationship became toxic. It was affecting my family. And I had to tell them that it had to end. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to let them go, but I had no choice. Mm-hmm. Because it had become very unhealthy.
Because you had a bond, but it was toxic. So there's, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like. So let's look at Lot. Lot never contributes positively to his relationship with Abraham. Let's just put it out there. He just kind of followed along. He drained his uncle of resources, time, and energy. But in the end, what he did is he received wealth and reputation and everything he had because he was connected to his uncle. So everything he had, Lot had, he had because his uncle felt bad for him and felt sorry for him and felt like, I have to help my nephew. I have to provide for him. Like you said, Cheryl, I have to provide for these people. I have to provide for Lot because he's, for whatever reason you have, like Abraham said, Lot is my nephew. I must help him. But the reality is they get to a point where they both have enough or too much to share the same space together. And if Lot were a more reasonable person, he probably would have gone to his uncle Abraham and then said, you know what, we need more space. How about you and I just negotiate, like, this has been great. I thank you for everything. We'll just spread out. We'll do this and do it in a very positive, productive way. But that's not what happened. What happens is the herdsmen and the two of them have a bunch of herdsmen, and they get into a dispute over land and who should be doing what. So Abraham has to bring Lot in and say, look, we have to find a solution to this. So he offers, again, Lot, you choose what area you would like, right? So what does Lot choose? Lot chooses the area, the area of land that he deems that he's attracted to is the best. Okay, so all this time he's getting all this stuff from his uncle, and now his uncle says, okay, you need to move on with what you have. What are you going to choose? Well, I'm going to choose the best, of course. Well, if you think about it, that's just a prime example of an ungrateful attitude. He was not grateful for what his uncle had done for him at all. He was going to take what he could get out of the situation. There was no gratitude. There was no gratefulness, nothing. He took the best. So when you think about it, yes, ma'am.
I just thought about something when you were talking about this, and I never thought about this in the story with Lot and Abraham before, but so Abraham has known Lot all of his life. So he kind of, I'm thinking that he probably just knew, what kind of person he was. So he's like, I'm going to make him an offer that he can't refuse. I need to get rid of him. The relationship is toxic. So I'm going to let him make a choice. And I know he's going to pick the better. And that's how he got rid of him. I think he already knew he was going to pick the better.
The thing is, Mother Trout, that in that situation, in all of these situations, people are not blind to what's going on. They know who these people are. They know what's happening. It's just they don't know how to deal with them always.
Yes.
So when people do not appreciate the benefits that we are providing, we like to, as human beings, excuse their behavior. We like to say, well, we just excuse people's behavior. But the reality is they're being ungrateful. And being ungrateful is very similar and very close to being selfish. When you think about it, and I never thought about it in these terms, but it's being ungrateful is being selfish because you don't appreciate that you feel that everyone owes you something and that's why you're getting things, and you don't have any gratitude towards someone who's helping you out, or who is being gracious to you, whether it's financially or anything else. You just expect it to happen because you are you. People like this are known as takers. We've talked about takers before. They take and take and take, and they assume as long as you're willing to give it, they'll take it.
Yeah.
And they are very unhealthy and very toxic. And we all know this, but doesn't mean we don't get into these relationships with people who are toxic and unhealthy, because sometimes we do. They may be short-term relationships, they may be long-term before we actually kind of figure out what's going on, because some people are a little more subtle about it, but ultimately they are not going to be healthy relationships. If you consider, let's consider you're dating someone, you just met someone, you're dating them. The author gave these examples of how do you know if you're dating a taker. And I thought some of these were just so simple, but so spot on. So if you're dating someone and you go out to dinner, let's say, pay attention to how they respond to the server. Do you ever notice how some people treat the servers with kindness and gratitude? They will stop a conversation with you to say thank you for a glass of water. They're very gracious. And other people treat the serving staff as if they are either non-existent or lower than low. That's a kind of a giveaway, because it's how do they treat someone who's in the service industry? Another thing he said to look at is how do they speak of others who benefit them? How do they talk about people who are somehow benefiting them? Do they have an air of entitlement, or do they have an air of appreciation? Do they appreciate what people are doing for them, or do they feel like, well, that person owes me? And we all have run across people who have that air of entitlement. You owe me, and you're like, yeah, I don't owe you nothing because I don't really even know you that well. So when you start dating someone and they have that air of entitlement, that should be a red flag, because where's the appreciation? They should be an appreciative person. The difference between a grateful person and an ungrateful person might seem like a minor thing, especially when it comes to like serving staff and that kind of thing, but it can really be a way to see some insight into someone's character. It's a way to just see how they treat other people, and that can give you some real good insights into someone you don't know very well, if that makes sense. Make sense? Are we making sense? Okay. So you want to look for people who are thankful, who are gracious to others, who are grateful, and who approach others in a way that seems not selfish or not entitled, that kind of thing. So again, it's kind of, he put it in a dating scenario, but anyone you meet, when you start to meet someone and you're spending time with them, if you watch how they treat other people besides you, you can see a lot about how who they are, what their character is. When I was young, very, very young, I had a very good friend of mine, and she would get a new boyfriend and she would introduce him to me, and she'd be madly in love, and she'd say, what do you think? And I'd be like, don't like him. And a lot of times it wasn't, she didn't understand why. And I said, my theory was this: he likes you, He's your boyfriend. How he treats your friends should be a what do I want to say? You should watch how he treats your friends. Watch how they treat your family and your friends, because she had a tendency to date these men who just thought, who are you? You're just her friend, and I felt like if he couldn't get along with me, what was he doing with her? If we're best friends, why?
Right.
And so sometimes it's not so much the person you're in the relationship with, but watch what they are doing with these other people on the periphery of your relationship. Make sense? Okay, so back to Abraham and Lot. So once Abraham and Lot separate, funny thing starts to happen. During the time that Abraham and Lot were together, even though Abraham had heard from God that said move, he hadn't really heard from God in that period. But the minute Lot leaves his life, he's hearing from God again. And he's able to pursue the promised land like he was told. And he's able to have this relationship with God again that he didn't have when Lot was around. And even though Abraham is not a perfect person and he makes mistakes, God knew his heart and his character, and God was pleased with him. So the people have a tendency to gravitate towards situations and activities that represent what's in their heart. So Abraham was trying so hard to gravitate toward God, but Lot was getting in his way. So his heart, what was in his heart, even though he was making mistakes, was to love God and to serve him and to worship him. But when you think about it, anybody has a tendency to be to gravitate toward things that represent what's important to their heart, right? So when you meet a new person and they're trying to become a friend to you, do you ever ask yourself, does this person gravitate toward the same things that I do? Are they kind of in sync? And we've talked about this before. Do they have the same values? Do they, are we on the same wavelength? Do we agree with values, convictions, character, priorities? If not, there's going to be a problem, because you're going to have always something's not quite right. You're not quite having that synergy and that sync that we talked about way back in one of the first chapters. So when Abraham is not able to hear from God, he's thinking he's doing the right thing. I'm doing the right thing. I'm helping Lot because I'm a good person. I know I'm doing the right thing, but I've lost the ability to really hear God. And he can suffer emotionally. Basically, again, he's emotionally dying because he can't do what he needs to do. He was frustrated. He was dying spiritually because he couldn't sense the Spirit of God. He couldn't sense his leading and his presence, and he couldn't get a hold of what he needed from God. I'm going to read Genesis, because what happens is he's told, switching glasses, he's told to do something in Genesis 12, 1 through 3. Leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. So here he's been told this, but it's not happening. And he doesn't really understand why. Why isn't this happening the way it should? Why, it gave him hope. It gave him purpose. It gave him direction. And it was a promise to build his life on. So he took off. And then nothing. Because he's dealing with Lot. And then in chapter 13 of Genesis, after he's separated from Lot, he hears from God again. And that's where he begins to realize, you know what? Lot was a problem. So there's a good example of having the wrong people in your life can not only damage you emotionally, but they can keep you from hearing from God. And a lot of time we say, okay, I really want to hear from God. I want to hear from God. I want to hear from God. I want to hear from God. We don't think about what are we surrounding ourselves with. We're focused on, I want to hear from God, but there's so many other things that come into play. Do I have the right people? Am I surrounding myself with the right people? Am I preparing myself properly? Is there something wrong with me? Do I feel spiritually deadened for some reason? Is someone sapping the energy out of me? What's going on in my life? Are there people supporting me wanting to hear from God? And I want to hear from God. I want his guidance, but I feel like I'm in a holding pattern and I can't fulfill my destiny. Why? And I know I've heard it. I know I've felt it, that people have said, I don't understand why I feel like I'm in a holding pattern. And it's because sometimes we let relationships get in our way. And there's one thing that, and this just struck me. None of our relationships are neutral. Not one. Even our least, the least of our relationships, the ones we're not even very close to, none of them are neutral. They all have some effect on us. They either cheer us on and push us forward, or they drain us and they hinder us. One or the other. There's nothing neutral about any relationship that you have. So even when someone is just this minor friend, they can be the thing that is keeping you from moving forward. So having the presence of one individual who should not be with you can keep you from reaching your destiny and hindering the fulfillment of your overall purpose. That's what happened with Abraham. It was Lot, one thing, and he didn't hear from God. That's a really striking thing. And when you think about, you have so many people in your life, and we all go through times where we're like, what is it? What's in the way of what I need to do? There's probably a person, and you need to deal with that somehow. So what comes on the other side of being separated from God and then being reunited? Let's look at Abraham. And for those of us who have ever felt that separation, we can attest to all of this. God always offers more when you get through to the other side of any time you feel separated. Abraham saw more. He believed more. He realized God wanted more from him, and he worshiped more because he had that much more coming from God. It wasn't just him trying to make up for the separation. It was God blessing him because he was able to move forward. So sometimes when people want to be a part of our life, they want us to help them, and they want to be in a relationship with us, even if for whatever reason, we have to be careful because our decisions can be dangerous. Because people will come into our life, and Deacon talked a little bit about this. People will come into our life and we make a decision to allow them into our life, but they want our help in a significant way. And we need to ask very pointed questions to ourselves, maybe even to them. And here's a few of the questions you need to really consider. How many of their problems are because of their bad choices? Marsh. Was that the hallelujah, Marsha? What was that?
I think Marsha and I are thinking about the same person.
You two just lost it right there. I mean, you just asked that one question. How many of their problems are because of their own bad choices? That has nothing to do with you. Here's number 2. Here we go again. Do they need to be rescued repeatedly? I love your reactions. Here's the next question. How does this affect you as the person who's coming to their rescue? How does it affect you? Just give me a one word.
It's very draining.
You don't want to answer the phone. Anytime you see it, they calling. You just ignore it. You turn your head the other way and you throw your hands up and go, well, whatever. That's it.
Because you know what's coming, because you know the first 2 questions are, it's them. And they're really a toxic person in your life, and you want to avoid that. So as an example, he likes to use dating as an example. If you're dating someone and you just like, I start dating someone, and from the beginning of dating, one, they are always asking me for money. That would be an issue. We're dating and they want to borrow $100. I just started dating you. Or they're physically disrespectful. And I don't mean, and I do mean abusive, but I also mean physically disrespectful. And there is a subtlety to that sometimes that people don't always pick up on. Just the little things. They're just very disrespectful to you. They're controlling or manipulative. And they're toxic. You know, and in a dating relationship, all of those things, if you pay attention and those are things that are happening early on in the relationship, you're done. You should be getting out of that immediately.
You know, this was centuries ago. I just went out on a couple of dates with this guy. And let me see, I can't even remember his name. I can't even remember his name. That's how long ago it was. But anyway, one of the dates, it was like our 3rd date or whatever. We went to one of his relatives' homes and they were playing cards.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they were playing cards and everything, if he lost a book or whatever, you know, he would get really upset. Now, I was like, I was checking that out to myself. Why is he getting so angry over a card game? And then like his sister, you know, and his relatives who were there at the table playing, they like kind of cowered back down a little bit, you know, like it really bothered them that he was angry. So after that date, you know, when I got home, that was it. That was all I needed. I said, yeah, I think he got a temper. And I'm not going to carry this any further. So I made him some old cockamamie excuse. I think was I in school or something? I think I was in school, and I said, I have a lot of studying to do, and I really don't have time to date. And then he said, well, I don't see how school can stop you from dating. I mean, you can still date. I said, no, I'm not going to have time. And he was getting really pushy with that, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, we're really not gonna see each other anymore. I think that was the best decision I ever made in my whole life.
Yeah. And any of us who've dated can tell you that there's been like 1 date, 2 dates, and you say, oh, that was, you get home and you're like, that was not great. They showed their true colors right away. And that's not good. So, and the thing is, we don't always think about what a toxic person really is like. And I'm going to go back to Lot now. We talked a little bit about, let's go back to Lot. Lot was a toxic person. Lot, if you think about it, Lot was willing to sacrifice his own daughters. Now, what parent do you know would sacrifice their children? Does that seem odd to you? I never thought of it. But people really show their true colors through their actions and their decisions, and show their true nature. So when you see them in a stressful situation, pay attention. Like you said, when he was losing, pay attention. You saw that anger. And it's painful for us to realize, if you're in the relationship and it's taken you a while, you're in the relationship and it doesn't seem like it means as much to them as it does to you. That it's kind of this very one-sided relationship. And you think about it, it doesn't have to be a dating relationship. Abraham and Lot, it was very one-sided. It's very dysfunctional. It's very frustrating, and these are the things that you think about. It's frustrating. You just aren't on the same wavelength. You're disappointed all the time. It's unhealthy. And sometimes it's best to just let it go. And that's one of the harder things for some people to do if they've been in a relationship for a while, because they feel like they've invested time in it and there should be something recouped out of it. The time factor. Well, we've been together a year. I don't want to, no, if it's not working, it's not working. And it may have taken you a year to figure it out. The other thing is, yes, sir.
Yes. So I'm not in a dating relationship per se, but I am in I do relate to people in my apartment building. I do help this one lady in my apartment building who I go to the store for on a regular basis. And, I've been doing it for a long time, even before COVID hit, but, she's in her, I think, late 60s. She expressed concern about going out in the store and dealing with all the people who are shopping and whatever. So I go to the store, she puts her list together. Fine, and I'll go on a regular basis on the weekend, pretty much on the weekend, Saturday, sometimes on a Sunday if I can't make it on the Saturday, I believe. But I found that she does find time to go to the casino. She and her friend, she goes to the casino, and I don't, and I'm trying not to be mean and cruel or whatever. I mean, I've been going since, I think this has been since March. I've been going almost every weekend to the store, she putting up. And so how do I politely, without, I don't know, is there any way to kind of break this without hurting their feelings? Or, I don't know how to, I don't want to be rude or mean, but I think she's taking advantage of me. You know what I'm saying? And that's just,
Oh, yeah.
It's getting old. I'm like, really?
That's almost, I kind of see where, you know, Lot, I mean, where Abraham could have been with Lot. You know, that's his nephew. He lost his father. He felt responsible for him. But he also saw selfishness in him too. But Abraham saw a way out, and that way to tell him, you know, choose which part, you know, you want. He knew he was going to choose the better. So it's like, it's almost like negotiating, right? You when you're negotiating with someone, you have to kind of like say, see where they're going to benefit from it. They have to see some kind of benefit. I don't have the answer for you, Brother Terrell, but I just kind of like have a, you know, if you could see some way that it could kind of benefit her to do her own shopping, or either, you know, you don't want to lie, right? But if you could, I don't know, maybe see some kind of a way that she could see that that it's not beneficial at all for you to keep doing it. I don't know. I'm sorry.
It may be as simple as having her say to her, I would like for you to come with me because I don't like making those choices for you. I will drive you, but I'm not going to shop for you. You see what I'm, so now it's not as easy for her. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But yet you're not cutting her off. That may be something. It's, I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, because when you start to realize you're being taken advantage of, you want to be careful, and you want to do it, like Mother Trout said, in a kind of a kind way, but in a way that says, I am not someone for you to bully around, and say, you know, I am willing to take you to the store, and here's the time frame I'm going, but I'm not going to do your shopping for you anymore. And just, you can even just say, I'm not comfortable that I'm getting you what you need. And what if there are other things? And then this way you can do your own shopping and I can do my own shopping, and just say, you know, it's interfering with me getting my stuff.
Yeah.
Because
And
it's complicated. One person getting two persons' stuff.
Right.
in case this, because it's a, you know, a possibility that, you know, if you start taking her shopping, if she agrees to that, then that'll be another area you might want to get rid of. You know, you might want to stop taking her with you all the time. But there's this one thing that Elder said that I think might really help. Telling her that, you know, you going shopping for her, you don't feel that you might be getting her the right things that she really needs. Maybe say something to the effect of, you know, it's pretty stressful for you trying to make sure that you're picking out the right things for her, and that you would prefer that she would do her own shopping from now on. And then say no harm or anything, and just say something like, please don't take offense, but I would just prefer that, you know, you do your own shopping to make sure you get what you really need for yourself, something like that. I like that part from Elder.
Yeah, and that it's stressful for you to try to shop for you and someone else.
Now she makes it a deal. If you don't see what I would want, take a picture of it, text it to me, and then I'll decide whether or not this is the right thing. And I mean, she's very particular.
Oh, there goes Marcia again.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is.
Okay, let Marcia. Marcia's
I
got
also thought about. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I also thought about the what is it? The like Instacart. You know, the shopping service that they do. I thought about telling her about that. You know, and what she does is she treats me to like, you know, like a fast food restaurant, you know, after I shop pretty much on a weekly basis. But still, my time. I'd rather have my time. I mean, I appreciate the meal that I get, but you know, still, I mean, it's just the fact, and it's and yeah, I'd prefer to have my time. There's other ways of doing it. What if I happen to move or something? You know, what she's gonna do then? Yeah, but okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Who approaches who when they is she approaching you saying, when you go to the store, or are you go knock on her door and say, Mrs. What you call it, I'm going to the store. Do you want
No. She's the one that approaches me. As a matter of fact, like on Thursday or perhaps Friday, she's calling me. Hey, you gonna be able to go to the store for me? I mean, at work, she's calling me. You gonna be able to go to the store for me on Saturday? I'm like, but you know, I try not to be. I don't know. Maybe I'm too nice. I don't know.
So part of this is boundaries. She's calling you at work. We've already talked about boundaries. And for you to say, I can't do it this weekend.
Yeah, just say I won't be able to do it. I'm sorry, you know,
Anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I won't be able to do this anymore. I have too many things on my plate right now. You know, and I noticed that you know, there are other things that you are able to do, you know, like she going to the casino. I mean, that same trip to the casino can be a trip to the store. On her way to the casino or on her way home from the casino, she can go to the store.
Yeah, see, I would say, yeah, I noticed there are other things that you're able to do. And now that things are opening up, I need to get my life, and just say, I need to get my life back to some normalcy as well. And I need to take back some of my own time.
And don't be offended if she never talks to you again.
Right.
You know, right. I mean, hey, that may be a consequence, but that ain't, you know, that's good on your end. You know, there's not, don't take everything. Yeah, if she don't talk to you again, that's fine.
She was a
You know,
taker, and that
just, you got to get them. Yes.
But it may just set some boundaries, and you're at least cordial to each other, but you have set the boundaries. You just don't know how she's going to react. But don't worry about it. She's not that significant to your life.
Mm-mm.
I was just gonna say, Sorella, is she like a good friend? You consider her a friend?
Well, we used to work together. She's retired now, and she worked for many years with the city. As a matter of fact, she used to stay in another apartment, and she moved here. I don't know if she moved here. The rent is reasonable, so she moved here after relocating from where she was. And you know, I've been helping her ever since. And I don't know if that move was for me to help her like this, because I mean, I've been doing this for years, but just recently, since COVID, I mean, it's been every weekend almost. I mean, it's just like, oh my God. And you know, what if I happen to go out of town, or which I haven't been able to do? You know, I travel sometimes, but you know, I've not been going out of town. So she knows I'm here in the city pretty much. And then if I have something going on, like a seminar or something online, well, can you go for me Sunday then? If you can't go Saturday, I get you listed.
Oh, no, ma'am, I can't go for you Sunday. I'm so sorry. Yeah. You have a good day.
But see, the thing about it is that if I don't have like something that I'm doing or something that's tying me up, if I'm at home, then what excuse would I mean?
He doesn't, it
Well,
doesn't.
You don't need an excuse.
You don't need, honey, you don't
excuse.
have to give her a reason other than I'm reclaiming my time.
Okay.
Exactly. You said you hit a nail on the head, Cindy. Just say I'm preoccupied with you.
Reclaiming my time.
Well,
Okay.
so
Here go Miss Compassionate.
But I understand where Brother Terrell is coming from. You know, you don't. I know that it's that she's really not a benefit to you in your life, and she's not you know, is she someone that you can do without? You know, for sure, right? Because it's like she's more of a burden than anything. But he doesn't. I'm thinking that you don't want to. You don't want to hurt her feelings, or you don't want to do that, even though you know what kind of person she is. Because if you think about it, with Lot and hush, Marsha, with Lot and Marsha, go on mute. With Lot and Abraham wasn't cold-hearted to Lot at all. See, He
But
gave
now
a lot. He gave a lot of really.
Nothing we said was cold-hearted. Nothing we said was cold-hearted.
Wait. I can't do this for you anymore. Right?
That's not cold-hearted.
Wait a minute. I've seen that you can go to the casino, so you can go shopping for yourself. Come on, that's kind of
all
hard.
we're saying is that he doesn't need to explain why.
Right, and he doesn't, because you don't owe her an explanation.
You don't owe her
You don't
anything.
owe her
He can just
anything
say,
at all.
I am really busy with my church. I am just really busy, and I am not able to give that amount of time to that anymore.
Terrell, I would just say, you know, I'm sorry, I will not be able to shop for you anymore, because shopping for you and myself has really been pretty stressful for me. However, here are some options for you.
There you go.
Instacart, that Instacart thing or whatever that stuff is. Give her those type of options and give her the phone number or whatever. Give her all of that. Don't tell her she can look it up for herself. You give it to her. And then say, I hope there are no hard feelings, and then go back to your part.
So what I think I'm going to do,
Tell
what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use the service myself. And then I'm going to say, hey, this is so convenient. Why don't you try it?
Very good.
There
I
you
think
go.
that's what I'll do.
There you
Okay.
go. There you go.
There you go. There you go. Now, Marsha.
So, our next
I'm
point-
sorry I took up all the time.
No. We're gonna go on.
Seems like,
We're gonna
yeah.
go on.
It was fun.
But the next point is sometimes you have to let go of the past in order to have a better future. So Abraham let go of Lot and he became more. But if you're familiar with Lot just, Lot had problems letting go of things until he was forced to. Like when he was told to leave Sodom, he just couldn't seem to get out of town. And he didn't want to go, and he didn't want to go, and he didn't want to go until the angel grabbed him and said, let's go. And when he did go, he didn't go very far. He had to stay there. And he had a problem letting go because he was drawn to that, to that area. People like that will draw you in, and they're unwilling to leave the unhealthy places and relationship in their lives, and they bring them with them in the relationship with you, and so that hinders you as well. So if people are not willing to let their past go and they bring things with them and they're entering in a relationship with you, this can be a problem. It can be a problem to not be able to move on. Just think about it in terms of addictions or bad habits or negative influences that people have, and they're saying, I want to change my life, and they do, and they're fine, they're good, or they don't, and it just becomes that toxic relationship. No matter how many people believe in them and help them and think that they can change, the fact is some people will not, and unless they decide to walk away from old patterns. So they have to make the decision to walk away from the old pattern, and not you have to help them, create a better life. That's not what your purpose in the relationship is. Even if it's a God-ordained relationship, you may have to leave some things behind and know that it's all going to be okay. And that each person in that God-ordained relationship has to demonstrate a willingness to let go of some things in order to move forward. Because if you don't, it won't move forward. It can be a God-ordained relationship that gets stalled. So even though it's that type of relationship, it will stall if you can't let go of some things from the past or some bad behaviors or bad habits or whatever. Now, the interesting thing I didn't realize about Lot is that Lot was a bigger problem in the long run, and it doesn't get talked about a lot. Because when you think about Lot and his family, his daughters, were very drawn to unrighteousness. We'll put it that way. So after they leave Sodom, what happens? They're living with their father, and they decide they need to have children. So what do? They sleep with their father. That's not right. Who comes out of those unions? Do you anybody know? Because I'm going to tell you if you don't know. Esther does.
But I'll let them answer it.
Okay, anybody? Because I love this. I love this because it really brought the whole story full circle. The children of Lot's daughters are actually the Moabites and the Ammonites. And who are they? They were the fiercest enemies of Israel. So the full circle here is that Lot is this toxic person, and his legacy are these people who become the fiercest enemies of his uncle's legacy. So ultimately, God knew that Lot had to get gone. He had to get out of Abraham's life before Abraham could go anywhere. He's got to be gone before God will help Abraham fulfill his purpose. Because he knew what the influence was, and he knew what was going to happen. So for as long as Lot is there, Abraham's not going to fulfill his purpose. Now, we try to downplay that people have a negative influence on us. We think we're stronger than that. We're just trying to help, and we're just trying to be good people. And trust me, I'm treading all over my own toes right now. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to do the right thing because it's what I'm supposed to do. But you have to come to a point where you say, this is influencing my life in a way that is so negative, I can't do it anymore. I have to draw a line and know that it is influencing my life in trying to help someone else that is so toxic. So we have to remember to not let our desire and our ability to help people damage us emotionally or kill God's purpose for us. Okay? Now, I got some lists here I'm going to throw out real quickly. I know we're going a little bit over. The first one is the 8 indicators of a toxic relationship based on looking at Lot and Abraham. And here we go. This just summarizes the toxic relationship. It's based on shared past or pain. It's unbalanced because one person benefits from the other without being grateful or appreciative. It is strained because one person is pursuing God's purpose and promises while the other person is headed in a different direction. It causes one person to cease to hear God's voice or lose momentum in following him. It jeopardizes not only the parties directly involved, but the families and friends as well. It is not of equal or similar value to both parties, and it cannot move forward because one individual cannot leave certain things behind. It suffers long-term damage because one party produces enemies to the other person's life or destiny in God, in some cases affecting future generations. So that kind of summarizes toxic relationship if you base it on Abraham and Lot. There it is in a nutshell, okay? Now, let me see if I can. So, here we go. Here's how to set boundaries. One of the things we have to know how to do is set boundaries. So some of the boundaries we have to think about are, you have to limit the amount of time you will spend each week with the person who could kill you emotionally. So if you see someone every day, all the time, and they drive you bonkers, then, as Elder Marcia says, don't answer the phone, whatever. You have to do those things for your own safety. Limit the activities you will facilitate for this person. For example, I will take you to the AA meeting, but I will not take you to the liquor store. See the difference? So a toxic person who, let's say, has an alcohol problem, that could be the difference in how you approach it. Do not feel guilty if you must change plans occasionally with an unhealthy person. For example, if you are sick and need to stay home instead of taking them grocery shopping. If you have to, you know, some people will on their deathbed do something for you and you just say, you know what, why didn't you just tell me you were sick? You know, if you can't do it, don't do it. Clearly communicate to this person that you are not his or her go-to friend, family member, or coworker when he or she makes bad decisions. And that's when we talked about, are they constantly making bad decisions, and are they trying to make you their go-to and their person who's going to constantly help them? In an appropriate way and with wise boundaries, share the focus and direction of your life with this person. Clearly state that you will not tolerate or support actions or behaviors that distract you from the direction that you are heading in. And obviously this is someone who is close to you, who is becoming a roadblock for you, and is throwing roadblocks in your way. So finding ways to schedule something to always happen during prayer call, trying to schedule something that always trying to interfere with Sunday church, whatever. Now, some things happen and you have to do, you know, things on certain days, and that's okay. But there's some people who will throw roadblocks because they find that is a way to distract you. And then finally, set clear expectations for values and behavior that must be respected when you spend time with the person, so that you know that they have to respect your values and the behaviors that your expectations. It seems a little juvenile, but sometimes with some people you have to get to that point and be that pointed with them to say, you're killing me emotionally. You're sucking the life out of the joy out of my life. And if that's the case, then something needs to be done, if that helps. Now we are over. So right now I just want to open it up for questions or comments. This was a toughie. This steps on all the toes of all the things we know about helping people. But we also know that there are toxic people, there are takers. And when they latch onto us to such a degree that we can't get them to let go, and there is a point where you have to say, I can't anymore. And I know my daughter has heard me say, and she's probably going to say something as soon as I get off this, Mom, because I will say, and she'll say, I finally get to a point though where I have to say, I can't. I don't have it. I can't. It's draining me. I won't do it anymore. Questions or comments? I'm going to open up the floor because this one was a little bit of a toughie.
It's very, very helpful. Thanks everybody for your input. Now I have the courage and the gumption to go. I won't feel bad in saying what I'll say to her. So thank you so much. I won't say anything in a mean tone, but you know, I can go and approach her now. I won't feel bad. Thank you.
Anytime. Not just during life class. It's always good to have people you can bounce situations off of so that you can say, I have this situation, I don't know how to handle it, especially when you're dealing with someone who is a taker and you somehow have gotten into this loop of they want me to rescue them all the time, and I don't want to be their rescuer. I don't want to be the person, their go-to person. I feel like it's too one-sided and it's killing me emotionally or spiritually. Any other thoughts? How about you, Elder Marcia? This hit you? Your reaction a couple times was killing me.
Yeah. I ain't gonna say nothing else.
Oh, sometimes when you talk about relationships and people and you just like, oh man, this one especially, this chapter especially was, oh my gosh, I've known people like this, or I've gotten myself in this situation before, and oh, to get out of it was ridiculous. Or I've known people who have had toxic relationships and I don't know how to help them.